This is a real deal kamikaze drone, which we'll be talking about today. Our task is to hit the hatch of this tank. There it goes, it's flying. It's coming in. Attention, danger! Subscribe to Boosty to see videos not available on YouTube. When you look at this grenade, you can't help but think of old grenades from the two world wars. A very similar form factor, quite bulky. However, it is the RKG-3, a post-war Soviet grenade, which has been in service since the 50s, that has become the most effective and refined handheld anti-tank grenade. And despite the fact that in the 80s it was replaced by the RPG-18 rocket launchers, lately one might say the RKG-3 has gotten a new lease on life. So what can this old RKG-3 grenade offer against the more or less modern T-72 tank, which, as you know, we have? I got 4 grenades today and I will try to hit its different parts. This grenade, or rather the request for its creation, appeared at the end of the Great Patriotic War. Since the RPG-43 and RPG-6, which were in service, were created right in the middle of the war, so to speak, as an urgent solution to combat enemy equipment. So the penetration of these grenades was about 75 millimeters of armor, and such grenades were used extremely limited on the front. So in June 1945, GSKB-30 appeared, where the development of the RKG-3 began, which appeared years later. In 1952, this department was liquidated and the grenade development was transferred to NII-24. There it was finalized, prepared for mass production, and then the RKG-3 was introduced. There is E variant, there is EM, and just M. Here the funnel began to be made of copper, as in almost all modern cumulative ammunition. The copper lining forms a continuous, so to speak, and most importantly, a stable cumulative jet with a density of 85–90% of the material density, capable of maintaining integrity at high elongation. While a large number of metals are either scarce, or the jet from such metals breaks up into fragments, that is, it's not very stable. This is how the introduction of copper increased armor penetration by 20%. In 1952 to 53, only 2,000 such grenades were produced, although the quota was for 60,000. They even opened a special workshop in 1954 and achieved this indicator and moved production to Chelyabinsk. And by 1956, they produced more than 200,000 such grenades. At the end of the 50s, the grenade got its third generation of developers. From April 1958, the work on the RKG-3 was entrusted to Basalt, where after some tinkering with the song "I'm Russian," they slightly increased the weight and dimension characteristics, but also the armor penetration up to 220 millimeters, introducing a new explosive TG-45. This is exactly the grenade I have today, the latest modification, RKG-3EM. In this, at first glance, simple design, it generally consists of a body, a handle, a bursting charge, and a fuse. The fuse. And you gotta understand that this said part is hollow and is responsible for the formation of a cumulative jet, because it, the jet that is, needs space between the charge and the point of contact for formation. In the bottom of the body there is a place for installing a fuse, which looks like a blank cartridge, roughly speaking, like 7G2 for example. This grenade received as many as 4 safety devices. In short, we twist, insert the fuse, twist it on entirely. The RKG, first safety is we tear off the safety pin. Second, we bring it back, as it were, swing it. It opens up a little. Then we throw it. As soon the parachute comes out from there, which stabilizes the grenade in flight. Then, let's say it's through the grass and so on. If it falls in the grass, for example, it will not explode. It can actually be disposed of. It will not explode in any way. And then the balls are removed there before the collision, in fact, and an explosion occurs. So there are 4 such safety devices, although it looks, yes, simple. This grenade was actively exported and transferred for production to allied countries, the GDR, China, Yugoslavia, even North Korea. It also gained a certain notoriety in Iraq when Humvees and other light vehicles were successfully ambushed. In 2008 alone, 79 successful attacks using RKG-3 grenades were recorded. Soon, armored vehicles acquired additional protective screens and lightweight turrets with an increased field of view for the gunner. Or rather, the armored vehicles were forced to acquire them. The Americans had to change their patrol tactics, reducing speed to 25 kilometers per hour and equipping the machine gunner with the Mammoth II, also known as Madus, in short, the Browning, with a shotgun. Overall, the thing's oldie but goodie, and objectively doesn't want to retire. And why should it? Just modify it a bit, mount it on a drone, and there you have it, a guaranteed hit to the roof. Guaranteed penetration. The grenade itself weighs about a kilogram, a little more, 1 kilogram and 77 grams. But, in fact, it contains 600 grams of TNT hexagen. Well, first of all, I want to try hitting the tank in principle. With this parachute deployment, all of this needs to be demonstrated and see how it works as intended. And then to avoid hesitation, I'll try throwing the remaining 3 grenades not according to the manual, just attach and detonate them. I'll see how capable the cumulative jet is of penetrating the tank in different places. The front, the turret projection, and the side. Let's go. We spread the antenna, pull the pin, and make a throwing motion. Damn! Something hit my side! What hit your side? You're full of shit. Something must have. There ain't shit there. Stop fucking lying.
Oh, Zorro!
I just pierced it entirely through. I hit right under the turret. Can you believe it? And you know what that means? That means that everything inside most likely detonated. Is that even possible? There's an ammunition carousel right under the turret. How many rounds are there? 32, I think, right? 22 rounds. They each have their quirks. You know, like N-Loss, which costs like a used Lexus from Georgia for 2,600,000, or one RKG, which costs practically nothing. You hit under the turret once, and the T-72 tank is completely disabled because the turret won't turn anymore. And do you know why it won't turn? Because that's where the turret rotation mechanism with gears is located. Moreover, a little further is the mechanism, the loading mechanism, which holds about 22 rounds in a circle. And believe me, if all that stuff detonated, the turret would have flown far, far away. But anyway, here we see the rod which actually hit the turret rotation mechanism directly and where the rounds would have been in a circle. That is, it's a guaranteed tank disablement. Unreal. Reminds me of the movie Panfilov's 28 Men, so... Here it is, the Russian weaponry. One more RKG grenade. As you can see, it's quite safe for one to throw it from a fairly close distance. Let's go. Look what kind of a story. This protective crap and the hatch worked almost like a cumulative, a shaped charge screen. See, it pierced 10 centimeters, but didn't go any further because there's a cavity inside this hatch. And ideally, if you look in here, you can see that the triplex took some of the impact. No, it's pierced. Yeah, I see a hole. There's a hole. Yeah, it's pierced. It's even pierced from above. Look at these good statistics. 2 hits and both on target. So the commander is dead and the whole crew would have been killed by the first grenade. Good value for the money, but is it worth paying less, you might ask? Of course not, I think. I've got one more grenade. I think it's worth sending it into this tank as well to achieve some additional, shall we say, results. Look, inside for good measure, I put a few of these bottles. They got hit by secondary fragments and possibly something flew off from the triplex or the hatch. Anyway, they got shredded by fragments and they are also cargo 200 or close to it. Now we'll see how safe the distance should be. Usually, according to tactics, you need to let the tank pass and throw it at its rear so it doesn't have time to react. And the armor is thinner in the back, obviously. So I'll be shooting, throwing from 15 meters. It's not that easy, actually. Not everyone has access to this function, but I'll try to hit it. But don't blame me if I miss. I'm going to try and get into this trench because this front is like that. Something might ricochet. Let's go. I missed by a little bit. I would have hit it right in the bullseye, as our engineer says, if I wasn't so cross-eyed. Well, most likely you'd better lie down on the ground, or better yet with your butt, so to speak, your private parts facing the detonation site. All in all, I almost made it, but we had to get rid of the boxes somehow, right? On the one hand. On the other hand, they need to be smashed up to make a fire. Anyway, you see, everything came together. Everything went according to plan. Fine. Not how we planned, but look what I did. I made a hole. You see, that smirk is gone from its face, the one it had when it just arrived, like, what are you gonna do to me, right? We've damaged the barrel, already punched a hole through the roller on that side, and some other stuff too. You were probably expecting something more from me, and you'll probably get it, by the way. Even with close explosions, as you can see, well, if there was some infantry passing by or something, something would have definitely happened to them, because even the secondary fragments from this box could have pierced them, caused splinters, and the guy would be like, ouch, you gave me splinters and stuff like that. And then look, hop, see this thing, he steps on it and everything is like completely disabled immediately. Okay, that's just embellishment, but still, you see, the front roller was blown off by the blast wave. If I were an AT4 marketer who would come up with something for the RKG, I would say, look at this behind-the-cover effect, it blows everything to smithereens. All in all, from the underworld emerges like this god of RKG, god of war, and it's like, that's it, boxes to different sides. Rollers to the different sides. Well, at least parts of them, this top part and so on. Fine. What does this tell us? It tells us that no matter how hyped and beautiful a weapon is, with a beautiful design, the main thing is that it can penetrate well. Well, the bottom is still intact, we have other anti-tank mines for that, and that's for the future. This was Heavy Caliber Ruckus. Don't switch off, it's about to get even more interesting.